you repeat that? And with your sunglasses on, I can't tell which of us you're talking to. So
the question was for Julia and Andrew. Now that the Me Too era and the Black Lives Matter are done, what we have to expect in Hollywood?
Well,
It's
I
not
did,
done.
sorry. I know that that's not for me, and I don't know if it's purposeful if it's about me, but I just am curious. I don't think it's done.
It's not done.
I don't think it's done at all.
I loved this interview. So many nuggets. Let's analyze a masterclass in media training and handling from Julia Roberts, Andrew Garfield, and the amazing Ayo Edeberry during their After the Hunt press tour. Buckle up, students. Professor Barger is in, and I'm black at it again. Welcome back to TikTok Comms Analysis class, where we don't just talk about all things communications, we decode the patterns frame by frame, word by word. If you're new here, hi, I'm Amira Barger, a behavioral communications consultant, professor, author, and your fearlessly authentic bestie. Let's get into it. Some context for all of us. An Italian journalist asks about #MeToo and #Black Lives Matter and notes that the movements are over and done with, but only to Julia and Andrew, excluding Ayo intentionally, the only Black actress on the panel. How they each responded gives us 3 media training tools: bridging, flagging, and body language. Let's get into these. Julia Roberts with bridging and the ABCs of bridging. Julia didn't rush in. She pauses and says, "Can you repeat that? With your glasses on, I can't tell who you're talking to." And that's not just small talk. That is good media training. It's the ABCs of bridging at work, tailored to this exact moment. So bridging is when you respectfully acknowledge a question, then steer or bridge the conversation towards the message you want to deliver. Think of it as a controlled redirect. You don't dodge, you guide. A is for address. Julia acknowledged the question without diving in head first. I'm not sure who this is directed at. That shows respect, but it sets a boundary. B is for bridge. She redirected the frame. Let's clarify who's being asked before we answer. This is subtle but powerful. It shifts control back to the panel. And C is for conclude. By slowing down and putting the spotlight on who should answer, Julia reset the dynamic so that Ayo could enter the conversation. That's a protective close. That's, hey, let's make sure the right voices are included here. And Julia demonstrated that bridging is about clarity as control. She didn't correct the journalist outright. She reframed the exchange so the conversation could happen, but on better terms. With Ayo, she's flagging and message insertion. So Ayo didn't let the exclusion pass. She said, I know this isn't for me, and I don't know if it's purposeful, but I'm curious, right? So that's flagging. Flagging is when you point out something important so the audience doesn't miss it. It's a way of planting a flag and saying, pay attention to this right here. And in this instance, naming the problem so that it can't disappear, and the journalist has to answer for it. Then Ayo pivoted into the message insertion. Message insertion is slipping in your key message no matter the question. It's how you stay disciplined and make sure that your voice is heard. And she said, I don't think it's done at all. Important work is still happening every single day. Notice the structure. She didn't debate the journalist's framing. She instead inserted her own framing. That's discipline. She turned a moment of being sidelined into a chance to highlight ongoing activism. And that's how you stay in control. Now on to Andrew. He used nonverbal communication. Andrew doesn't really speak. He moves. He angles his body toward Julia and Ayo and away from himself. Why does that matter? Because research shows 55% of communication is body language. 38% is tone of voice and delivery, and only 7% is actually words. So by physically turning, Andrew made the power dynamics visible, right? Your posture, eye contact, and movement can either reinforce or undercut your message. And his posture said, this floor belongs to them. And that is allyship through body language, sharing the floor with intention. Now, final lesson. Henry Kissinger had this famous question. He would say, does anyone have any questions for my answers? And here's what that means in media training. You prepare your answers before you ever walk in. The journalist has their questions, but you already know the, let's call it 2 to 3 key messages that you'll deliver no matter what. It's not about dodging, it's about discipline. The best interviews happen when what you want to say meets what the journalist wants to print. Reporters are after urgency, conflict, drama, and human stakes. You are after clarity, control, and connection on whatever you're talking about. And when those two things overlap, that's the story. So you prepare your answers in advance. Then, no matter what the question is, you bridge back to them. It's not about being evasive. It's about being intentional. It's your story, and you own it. And Julia bridged, AO flagged, and inserted, and Andrew used nonverbal signals. 3 different techniques in media training, 1 shared goal. Don't just answer, deliver your message. Because in media, questions are just the doorway. What matters is what you walk through carrying.